Norah O'Donnell, the incoming anchor of the CBS Evening News, has an exclusive interview with the man in charge of Boeing. Dennis Muilenburg gave his first interview since 2 overseas crashes killed 346 people and led to the grounding of all 737 MAX jets. That's Boeing's bestseller. Norah joins us now. And Norah, there are a lot of nervous flyers already, and this really scared people.
It did. Good evening to you, Margaret. It's been an extraordinary day for news. And Boeing is the largest aerospace company in the world. And tonight its CEO told us it is at a defining moment. CEO Dennis Muilenburg admits these 2 crashes damaged the public trust and confidence in flying. And that's why we began our conversation by asking him, is it time to apologize to the families?
I do personally apologize to the families. We feel terrible about these accidents. And we apologize for what happened. We are sorry for the loss of lives in both accidents. And that will never change. That will always be with us. I can tell you it affects me directly as a leader of this company. It's very difficult.
Did you ever consider resigning?
No. It's important that I continue to lead the company, and the fact that lives depend on the work we do, whether it's people flying on our commercial airplanes or military men and women around the world who use our defense products, that is a worthy mission.
Tonight's admission by the CEO of Boeing will be watched closely by people like Paul Naroge, who lost his entire family in the Ethiopian air crash.
It was up to Boeing and the others in charge to save them. We paid for a safe flight.
He's pointing the finger at Boeing. How does that affect you?
Yeah. Well, you know, I understand the feelings of all the loved ones and families that have been affected, and I can't even claim to begin to comprehend how much it's impacted them. And you know, unfortunately, I can't change what happened. I would if I could. But what I can commit to is that our company is going to do everything possible to ensure safety going forward.
The common link between both crashes was the performance of a new flight control system called MCAS, which activated after it was fed erroneous information.
The first crash, Flight 610, that crashed into the Java Sea about 12 minutes after takeoff, killed 189 people on board. What's your understanding of what brought that flight down?
Well, first of all, I have to respect the fact that the investigation process is still going on, and we know that there was inaccurate sensor data that came into the airplane, that there appears to have been a maintenance issue with that sensor. We know that the MCAS software was activated multiple times during that flight. And in the end, that added to the pilot workload.
Yeah, it was more than multiple times. It was 24 times. Mm-hmm. The pilots were essentially in a tug of war with the plane for control of the plane. That flight control system that you mentioned, the MCAS, overrode the pilots more than 24 times. And the pilots ultimately lost control, and that plane essentially did a death dive into the ocean at 450 miles an hour. Can you imagine how terrifying that was for the people on board? Because it was jerking up and down.
We examine every dimension of these accidents, not to try to attribute fault or point fingers, but it's to understand end to end what happened.
Tonight, Boeing admits it was a mistake in the software for a warning light called an angle of attack disagree alert that could have notified pilots and maintenance that there was a problem.
But that light was supposed to be active on all 737 MAX jets, and it was not. You knew this in 2017 and did not tell the FAA for 13 months. Why?
The implementation of that software, we did not do it correctly. Our engineers discovered that.
So you're fixing that now?
We're fixing it now, and our communication on that was not what it should have been.
Does Boeing have a credibility and transparency problem if they don't admit what were the mistakes in the past?
Yeah. No, as I said, we clearly fell short, and the implementation of this angle of attack disagree alert was a mistake, right? We did not implement it properly. We're confident in the fundamental safety of the airplane.
You'd put your family on a 737 MAX?
Without any hesitation, absolutely.
Well, that's a vote of confidence, but is the 737 MAX going to be up in the air again anytime soon?
Well, Muilenburg told us that it will be up in the air, he believes, by the end of this year. It could be even sooner than that, and that's key because this is their best-selling plane. There has been a worldwide grounding. More than 400 of these 737 MAXs are sitting idle. They need to get them up in the air as quickly as possible.
And it's such a huge company, Boeing. It's so important to the U.S. economy, and that's why we saw even the President of the United States weigh in on this. He suggested it should be renamed. Is that going to happen?
Well, interesting. Muilenburg said this is not a branding issue. This is a safety issue. So the plane will not be renamed or rebranded.
Does he regret not grounding it?
He said, look, after the first plane crash, they moved as quickly as possible to institute this software enhancement or fix. And he said the timing of this second crash, just 5 months after the first one, was very, very difficult. So they are working around the clock to fix it as quickly as possible. And I think significantly, his admission that this has hurt public confidence in flying is key.
Norah, that was a great interview, but I think you're sitting in the wrong chair.
Soon. I'll be there soon.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
And there will be more of Norah's interview with Boeing CEO Dennis Muilenburg tomorrow on CBS This Morning.